God's chosen one, are you tired of feeling like you're screaming into the void while everyone around you sleeps? Have you been carrying a weight in your chest that nobody else seems to understand, knowing that something massive is coming, but you can't explain it to anyone? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding, sensing that time is running out for something you can't even name? Stop. Breathe. Listen carefully. You didn't stumble onto this message by chance. Your finger didn't accidentally tap this video. There are no coincidences in the kingdom of godly divine appointments. And right now, at this exact moment, heaven is speaking directly to your spirit. The 3rd of July, 2025 is not just another date circled on your calendar. It's a spiritual deadline, a cosmic checkpoint. The final hour when a hidden gate that has been sealed for generations quietly swings open, and most people won't even notice it happening. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. You think you're watching this video, but in reality this message has been watching you, tracking your prayers, monitoring your tears, waiting for the exact moment when your spirit would be ready to receive what heaven has been preparing to release. If you're still here, still listening, that means your name is written in this moment. You've been marked, you've been chosen, and what's about to unfold in the next few minutes will either ignite your destiny or leave you wandering in spiritual confusion for years to come. The enemy has been working overtime to distract you from this very moment. Every phone call that interrupted your quiet time, every doubt that crept into your mind, every person who mocked your faith, it was all designed to keep you from hearing what you're about to hear right now. But here you are, still watching, still believing, still hungry for more of God. There is a hidden gate that has quietly opened, and only the spiritually awake will recognize it. The crowds will sleep through it. The religious will debate it. But the chosen ones, they will walk through it and never be the same again. Before we go any deeper, I want to honor those of you who have supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. Now, if you already feel this word burning in your spirit, if something in your chest is confirming that this message was sent specifically for you, don't hesitate. Comment 777 right now. Don't wait. Don't second guess. Declare that you are awake. Declare that you are ready. Because what comes next will separate the watchers from the walkers, the dreamers from the doers. The 3rd of July, 2025. The hidden gate has opened. The question is, are you ready to step through? How many decades have you carried that hollow ache in your chest, the one you've never named out loud? How many Sunday mornings have you sat in church pews, surrounded by hundreds of people, yet felt more alone than when you were by yourself at home? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if God still remembers your address? You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That nameless longing that's followed you through marriages, divorces, births, deaths, victories, and defeats. It's been your constant companion, this sense that you're living just outside the life you were meant to live, always reaching for something that seems to slip through your fingers like morning mist. You've prayed about it. You've ignored it. You've medicated it with busyness, relationships, achievements, even ministry. But it's still there, isn't it? That persistent whisper in your spirit that says, there's more. There has to be more. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will shake the very foundation of how you've understood your spiritual journey. For 70, 80, even 90 years, you've been walking past a hidden gate. Every single day of your life, you've passed by it. But here's the shocking truth: you didn't recognize it because it was disguised as your deepest disappointments. That failed marriage that left you questioning God's goodness, you walked past the gate. That child who broke your heart with their choices, the gate was right there. That financial devastation that shook your faith to its core, the business that crumbled, the health scare that terrified you, the friends who abandoned you when you needed them most. Each time, you were standing directly in front of the hidden gate, but you thought it was just another trial to endure. The Bible tells us in Isaiah 45:3, "I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places." But what if those secret places weren't golden vaults in heaven? What if they were buried in the very experiences that brought you to your knees? You've been knocking on heaven's door for decades, begging God to change your circumstances. But the knock you've been ignoring wasn't coming from the outside. It was coming from within, your own spirit, trying to wake you up to a truth so profound that your mind couldn't process it. Every moment of pain was actually a doorway you didn't know how to open. Think about Moses. 80 years old when God called him from a burning bush. 8 decades of preparation he didn't understand. 8 decades of feeling like a failure, a murderer, a has-been shepherd in the wilderness. But Exodus 3:2 says, "The angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush." The fire was already there. Moses just finally had eyes to see it. How many burning bushes have you walked past in your lifetime? How many moments when God was trying to get your attention, but you were too hurt, too tired, too disappointed to recognize his voice in the flames? You thought retirement would bring peace, but instead it brought restlessness. You thought grandchildren would fill the void, but the ache remained. You thought serving in church would satisfy the hunger, but you still wake up feeling empty. That's because you've been seeking satisfaction in the appetizer when God has been preparing a feast behind a door you've never opened. Here's what breaks my heart. You've spent decades believing that spiritual maturity means accepting less, expecting nothing, and being grateful for crumbs. You've been told that wanting more is selfish, that yearning for deeper intimacy with God is somehow prideful. But what if that hunger, that relentless, gnawing hunger for something greater, isn't a character flaw? What if it's the most sacred thing about you? Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, God has set eternity in the human heart. That restlessness you feel, that's eternity knocking. That dissatisfaction with surface-level Christianity, that's your spirit, recognizing it was made for more than Sunday morning services and Wednesday night Bible study. You've been carrying this burden alone, haven't you? Thinking you're the only one who feels this way. Looking around at other believers who seem content with their small group discussions and potluck dinners, wondering what's wrong with you for wanting to experience the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. But here's the devastating truth. The knock is getting quieter. After decades of trying to get your attention through whispers, God doesn't shout louder, He speaks softer. And with each passing day, each passing month, the spiritual sensitivity you once had begins to fade, not because God loves you less, but because the human heart and the heart of the faithful can only stay tender for so long without response. You feel it, don't you? That slight dimming of the spiritual fire that used to burn so bright in your younger years. The prayers that once flowed like rivers now feel like they're spoken into an empty room. That's not God withdrawing from you. That's the sound of the hidden gate beginning to swing shut. But tonight, the 3rd of July, 2025, something has shifted in the spiritual realm. The gate that has been hidden in your hardest moments, disguised in your deepest disappointments, camouflaged in your greatest confusion, is becoming visible one final time. The question isn't whether you're worthy of walking through it. The question is whether you still have ears to hear the invitation before the knocking stops forever. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That restlessness in your spirit, that unexplainable heaviness that sits on your chest when you wake up at 3 a.m. You thought it was anxiety. You thought it was stress. You thought something was wrong with you. But what if I told you that everything you've been feeling every sleepless night, every moment when you felt like you were losing your mind, every time you looked around and wondered if you were the only one who could sense that something massive was coming, what if all of that was actually your spirit being tuned to a frequency that most people can't even hear? Dear chosen one, you haven't been losing your mind. You've been gaining spiritual sight. The 3rd of July, 2025 isn't just another date on your calendar. It's not symbolic, it's strategic. It's the moment when divine timing collides with personal readiness, and the collision creates a doorway that hasn't been open in your lifetime. Think about this. Why have you survived everything you've been through? Why didn't that diagnosis destroy you? Why didn't that betrayal break you? Why didn't that financial collapse end you? Because God wasn't just getting you through those seasons, He was getting you ready for this season. Every heartbreak was heart surgery. Every unanswered prayer was spiritual conditioning. Every quiet act of faith when nobody was watching was you, unknowingly preparing for a moment you couldn't even imagine yet. You thought you were just surviving, but in reality, you were being trained. The Bible tells us in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for good, to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. Not some things, not the pretty things, all things, even the things that nearly killed you, even the things you're still ashamed of, even the things you thought disqualified you. You've been in spiritual boot camp, and you didn't even know it. But here's what's different about the 3rd of July. This isn't about the date on the calendar, it's about the vibration in your spirit. It's about frequency, not prophecy. And your spirit has been slowly, steadily, deliberately tuned to match a frequency that heaven has been broadcasting for months. You are the lock. God has been cutting the key. And on the 3rd of July, 2025, that key slides perfectly into place. Listen carefully. The gate that's opening isn't somewhere out there. It's not in Jerusalem. It's not in some mystical realm you have to travel to. The gate is within you. It's the doorway between who you've been and who you're about to become, between surviving and thriving, between hoping and knowing. But here's the part that will shock you. Most people will miss it entirely. They'll wake up on the 3rd of July, check their phones, complain about the weather, and go about their day completely unaware that heaven just offered them a supernatural upgrade. Why? Because they're not listening, they're not still, they're not prepared. But you've been prepared, you've been positioned, you've been purified through the fire of trials that would have destroyed weaker spirits. Do you remember the story in 2 Kings 6, when Elisha's servant was terrified because they were surrounded by enemy armies? Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so he may see." And suddenly the servant saw what Elisha saw. The hills were full of horses and chariots of fire all around them. What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this, there are spiritual forces positioned around your life that you can't see with your natural eyes? What if the very fact that you're still listening to this message is proof that your spiritual eyes are beginning to open? The gate is opening, not tomorrow, not next week, right now, this moment, but only for the ones still listening. Only for the ones who can feel the shift happening in their spirit, even as they hear these words. It is open now, right now, this moment, but only for the ones still listening. It is open now, right now, this moment, but only for the ones whose hearts are pounding with recognition. It is open now, right now, this moment, but only for the ones who know this message wasn't an accident. You see, most people are waiting for God to do something spectacular. They want burning bushes and parted seas. But God often moves in the quiet places, in the stillness, in the surrender. In the moment when you stop striving and start trusting, the Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, but it only took them 11 days to get to the Promised Land. What made the difference? Readiness, spiritual maturity, the ability to recognize God's voice when He spoke. You've been wandering long enough. Your 40 years are over. Your 11 days start now. But here's the warning. This gate won't stay open forever. Divine opportunities have divine deadlines. Just ask the 5 foolish virgins who missed the wedding because they weren't prepared when the bridegroom arrived. Are you prepared? Can you feel it in your spirit? Can you sense that something is shifting in the atmosphere around your life? If you can, that's not your imagination. That's confirmation. That's heaven saying, this is your moment. The question isn't whether the gate is open. The question is, will you walk through it? Chosen one, we need to talk about something that's killing more destinies than persecution ever could. Something more dangerous than doubt, more destructive than fear, and more deadly than outright rebellion: delay. You see, the enemy doesn't need to make you hate God to destroy your calling. He just needs to make you wait. He whispers, tomorrow, next week, when things calm down, when you're more ready, and while you're planning your obedience, your window of opportunity is slamming shut. Jesus told a parable that should terrify every believer who thinks they have unlimited time. 10 virgins, all of them believers, all of them expecting the bridegroom, all of them had lamps. But here's what will shake you to your core: 5 were ready and 5 were not, but all 10 of them thought they had time. Think about that. The 5 foolish virgins weren't atheists. They weren't mockers. They were believers who simply thought they could prepare later. They heard the same invitation. They received the same calling. They even showed up to the same place. But when the bridegroom came, when their moment arrived, half of them were locked out forever. Matthew 25:11, -12, records their desperate cry, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered and said, "Assuredly I say to you, I do not know you." Not because they were evil, not because they committed some terrible sin, but because they delayed their preparation until it was too late. Dear friend, I need you to hear this with absolute clarity. Delay is disobedience in disguise. When God says now, and you say later, you're not being careful, you're being rebellious. When heaven opens a door and you say, "Let me think about it," you're not being wise, you're being foolish. Every day you postpone walking through that open gate is another day you're choosing comfort over calling, convenience over consecration. But here's what will pierce your heart even deeper. Your hesitation isn't just affecting you. Your delay isn't just about your destiny. What if, listen to this carefully, what if your procrastination is holding back the breakthrough that's meant for your children? What if your spiritual hesitation is keeping your grandchildren in generational bondage? What if the door God opened for you on the 3rd of July, 2025, isn't just about your personal elevation, but about breaking cycles that have plagued your bloodline for decades? In Exodus, when Moses hesitated at the burning bush, God's anger was kindled. Not because Moses was unworthy, but because while Moses was making excuses, an entire nation remained in slavery. Your delay has consequences that ripple through time. Right now, there are prayers your descendants will never need to pray if you walk through this door today. There are battles they'll never have to fight if you fight them now. There are chains they'll never wear if you break them in this moment. But if you wait, if you delay, if you say maybe next year, or when I'm more spiritually mature, those chains get passed down. Those battles become their inheritance. That generational curse becomes their burden to bear. I'm talking to someone right now whose great-grandmother prayed for breakthrough, whose grandmother fasted for deliverance, whose mother cried out for freedom. And now it's your turn. You're standing at the gate they could only dream about. You have access to the breakthrough they died believing would come. And you're hesitating. The spirit of delay doesn't just steal your tomorrow, it murders your legacy. It doesn't just rob your potential, it plunders your posterity. Every moment you wait is a moment your family stays in bondage. Every hour you hesitate is an hour your lineage remains under limitation. This is not just your door, this is your family's deliverance. Think about Queen Esther. When Mordecai told her she was called for such a time as this, she didn't say, "Let me pray about it for a few months." She didn't say, "I need to fast and seek confirmation." She understood that timing in the kingdom is everything. She knew that delayed obedience could mean the destruction of her entire people. Esther 4:14 echoes through eternity. If you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Listen to me carefully. God's plan will happen with or without you. His kingdom will advance whether you participate or not. But if you miss your momentum, you delay past your window, you and your house will miss the blessing meant for your generation. The hidden gate that opened on the 3rd of July, 2025, won't stay open forever. Divine opportunities have expiration dates. Heavenly invitations come with deadlines. And right now, while you're still listening to this message, while your heart is still burning, while the Spirit is still stirring, this is your moment. Don't let your children inherit the consequences of your hesitation. Don't let your grandchildren pay the price for your procrastination. Don't let delay destroy what God intended to build through your obedience. The clock isn't just ticking on your destiny, it's ticking on your dynasty. So what's it going to be? Will you walk through that gate today, or will you explain to the next generation why you chose to wait? But here's what most people don't understand about divine timing, and this might be the most sobering truth you'll hear today. God's doors don't stay open forever. His mercy is eternal, yes, but His opportunities, they have expiration dates written in heaven's calendar. You see, beloved, there's a difference between God's love and God's timing. His love never fails, never fades, never leaves you. But His timing, that moves like a river swift, purposeful, and it doesn't wait for anyone to catch up. Think about Moses for a moment. This man who spoke face to face with the Almighty, who parted the Red Sea, who led 2 million people out of bondage. He never set foot in the Promised Land, not because God stopped loving him, not because his calling was revoked, but because there was a moment, one moment of disobedience at Meribah, when he struck the rock instead of speaking to it. One moment. And it cost him everything he'd worked 40 years to reach. Numbers 20:12 records God's heartbreaking words. Because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them. Can you imagine? Standing on Mount Nebo, seeing the promised land spread out before you, like a beautiful tapestry, knowing you'll never walk on that soil. Moses died within sight of his destiny because he missed his moment. Or consider Lot's wife. She'd been given a direct command from angels to look back. Freedom was literally steps away. Sodom and Gomorrah were about to be obliterated, but she'd been chosen for deliverance. All she had to do was keep walking forward. But at the crucial moment, she turned around. Genesis 19:26 tells us she became a pillar of salt frozen forever in the act of looking backward instead of moving forward. These aren't just ancient stories, chosen one. These are warnings written in blood and tears for you and me. They're divine red flags waving frantically, trying to get our attention before we make the same fatal mistake. Right now, as you're listening to these words, you're standing at your own crossroads. The 3rd of July, 2025, isn't just another date on the calendar, it's your Meribah moment. It's your chance to not look back. The hidden gate is open, but here's what will shake you to your core. It won't stay open. God doesn't keep doors ajar indefinitely. He doesn't hold elevators for people who refuse to get on. When heaven moves, it moves with precision and purpose. And when the moment passes, it passes completely. Look at the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. When the bridegroom came, the foolish ones were scrambling for oil, begging, pleading, "Open the door for us." But verse 12 delivers the most chilling response in all of Scripture. But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I don't know you." The door was shut. The moment had passed. Their preparation time was over. Are you feeling the weight of this truth settling in your chest right now? Good, you should be. Because comfort is the enemy of awakening, and I'd rather shake you awake than let you sleep through your destiny. The enemy wants you to believe you have unlimited chances, infinite do-overs, eternal mulligans. He whispers, "You can always catch the next wave, take the next opportunity, walk through the next door." But that's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Some doors only open once in a lifetime. Some moments only come around once in a generation. And the 3rd of July, 2025, is one of those moments. The next time you feel this door opening, it may be an eternity, and by then, beloved, it will be locked. The book of Revelation speaks of a door standing open in heaven, but it also speaks of doors that are shut. When Jesus holds the key of David, what he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. You're not reading this by accident. You're not hearing this message because you stumbled upon it while scrolling through videos about cats or cooking tips. Your spirit led you here because deep down you know this is your moment. This is your door. This is your the 3rd of July invitation. But here's the part that terrifies me for some of you. You're going to hesitate. You're going to rationalize. You're going to say, "I'll think about it," or "I'll pray about it," or "I'll wait for more confirmation." And while you're thinking and praying and waiting, the door will quietly, silently, irreversibly close. Moses thought he had time. Lot's wife thought she could look back just once. The foolish virgins thought they could prepare later. They were all wrong. Don't be Moses on Mount Nebo, seeing your promise from a distance but never possessing it. Don't be Lot's wife, frozen in time because you couldn't let go of what was behind you. Don't be the foolish virgins, locked out because you weren't ready when the moment came. Say it out loud right now. I will not miss my door. Say it again. I will not miss my door. Keep saying it until your fear breaks, until your doubt crumbles, until your hesitation dissolves into holy determination. Because, chosen one, when God closes a door, he doesn't just lock it, he removes it entirely. And what remains is the eternal echo of what could have been. But you're still here, you're still listening, which means your door is still open. The question that will haunt you or heal you is this: what are you going to do about it? You've been standing at this threshold your whole life, haven't you? Sensing there was something more, something deeper, something that would finally make sense of all the pain you've carried. Well, chosen one, let me tell you what's waiting on the other side of this gate, and it's nothing like what the world promised you. You thought the reward was comfort, a nice house, a fat bank account, maybe some recognition for all your years of faithful service. But that's not what's beyond this gate. The reward isn't comfort, it's clarity. Crystal clear, soul-deep, life-altering clarity that will make every sleepless night you've endured suddenly make perfect sense. On the other side of this gate is peace you've never known. Not the absence of problems, the presence of God so thick you can breathe it. Strength you've never tasted, not the kind that comes from your morning coffee or your daily vitamins, but supernatural strength that flows from the throne room of heaven directly into your weary bones. Listen carefully. You're not walking into luxury, you're walking into legacy. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been told your best days are behind you. Society whispers that your time is up, that you should just sit quietly and wait for the end. But heaven is screaming the opposite. Deuteronomy 34:7 tells us Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes were not weak, nor his strength gone. Why? Because when you walk through God's gate, you don't decline, you ascend. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to discover. Beyond this gate, time works differently. You stop counting birthdays and start counting breakthroughs. You stop measuring your worth by what your body can't do anymore and start recognizing what your spirit was always meant to accomplish. Think about Anna, the prophetess in Luke 2:36-38. She was 84 years old, 84, when she encountered the baby Jesus in the temple. But did she shuffle away quietly? No, she became a herald, proclaiming redemption to everyone who would listen. Her greatest ministry happened in her golden years because she recognized the moment heaven was moving. That's you right now. This is your Anna moment. Beyond this gate, your real name is waiting. The name God gave you before the world labeled you too old, past your prime, or irrelevant. The name not marked by pain but by purpose, not defined by what you've lost, but by what you're about to gain. You've spent decades being called by names that weren't yours. Failure, disappointment, has been, forgotten. But those were identity thieves speaking. Your true name, the one written in the Lamb's Book of Life, that name carries authority. It carries anointing. It carries the power to shift atmospheres at 85, just as powerfully as at 25. Here's the shocking truth. Some of God's greatest warriors are seasoned warriors. Abraham didn't receive his promise until he was 100. Sarah laughed at 90 and then held Isaac in her arms. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain," in Joshua 14:12. They weren't slowing down, they were speeding up into their destiny. But beyond this gate isn't just personal transformation, it's generational liberation. When you step through, you're not just changing your story, you're rewriting your family's ending. Your grandchildren will walk in freedoms you're about to purchase with your obedience. Your bloodline will inherit blessings because you had the courage to step through when heaven called your name. The world sees wrinkles. God sees wisdom. The world sees limitations. God sees seasoned vessels ready to carry glory. You've been aged like fine wine, not to be stored away, but to be poured out at the exact moment when your maturity meets heaven's timing. Beyond this gate, you discover that every tear you cried was stored in heaven's bottle. Psalm 56:8 says God keeps track of all your sorrows and puts your tears in his bottle. Why? Because on the other side of this gate, those tears become testimonies. That pain becomes your platform. That struggle becomes your strength. You won't be stepping into retirement, you'll be stepping into your real assignment. The one you were born for. The one that required 70 years of life experience to prepare you for. Moses couldn't deliver Israel at 40. He needed 80 years of desert training first. David couldn't build the temple as a young king. God waited until his son Solomon had the wisdom that only comes with time. Your time isn't up. Your time is now. Beyond this gate, death loses its sting because you finally understand what Paul meant in Philippians 1:21. For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. You're not afraid of tomorrow because you know who holds tomorrow. You're not anxious about your health because your spirit is healthier than it's ever been. This gate opens onto ground so holy that every step you take will be directed by divine GPS. You'll find yourself in conversations you never planned, speaking words that heal hearts you didn't know were broken, carrying answers to questions people haven't even asked yet. But here's the most beautiful part. Beyond this gate, you finally understand that every delay, every disappointment, every detour was God positioning you for this exact moment. The 3rd of July, 2025 isn't interrupting your retirement, it's launching your reformation. The gate is open. Your real name is calling. Your true assignment is waiting. Comment: I step through as who I truly am. This is not for show, it is for heaven's record. Because, chosen one, what's beyond this gate isn't just better than what you've known, it's everything you've been created for. But before you step through that gate, chosen one, there's something you need to understand. Something the feel-good preachers won't tell you. Something the motivational speakers skip over because it doesn't sell tickets or fill stadiums. Clarity is not comfortable, it is costly. You've been praying for breakthrough, begging God for answers, crying out for direction. But have you counted the cost? Have you considered what it will actually mean when the fog lifts and you really see yourself for the first time? Because once you walk through that hidden gate on the 3rd of July, your old masks won't fit anymore. The personas you've worn to church, to work, to family gatherings, they'll feel foreign on your face, like trying to squeeze into clothes from 30 years ago. They simply won't stretch to cover who you're becoming. Jesus warned us about this in Luke 14:28. Which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost? He wasn't talking about money, he was talking about identity. He was talking about the price of truth. You will feel naked in ways you never expected, spiritually exposed, emotionally raw. The comfortable lies you've told yourself about your marriage, your finances, your relationship with God, they'll evaporate like morning mist. And for the first time in years, maybe decades, you'll finally be real. Most people can't handle that level of honesty. That's why they stay on the other side of the gate, pressing their faces against the glass, wondering why their prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. They want the blessing without the breaking. They want the crown without the cross. But you're different, aren't you? That's why you're still here, still listening. Something in your spirit recognizes that authentic transformation requires authentic surrender. The gate is not a stage where you perform for applause. It's a mirror that reflects what you truly are beneath all the religious rhetoric and spiritual makeup. And mirrors, dear one, don't lie. They don't flatter, they simply show. David understood this when he cried out in Psalm 139:23-24. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. He was asking for the very thing most believers run from: divine examination. Are you ready for God to search you, really search you, to expose the hidden resentments you've nursed for years, the secret pride that masquerades as humility, the fear that you've dressed up as wisdom? Because that's what clarity costs. It costs you the luxury of self-deception. It costs you the comfort of blaming others for your spiritual stagnation. It costs you the right to remain a victim of your circumstances instead of a victor through Christ. When Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up in Isaiah 6:5, his immediate response wasn't worship, it was terror. "Woe is me," he cried. "I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips." The presence of absolute holiness revealed his absolute need. That's what the 3rd of July offers you. Not a religious experience, but a reality check. Not a spiritual high, but a holy awakening to who you really are, both your desperate need and your incredible potential in God's hands. Your friends might not understand the changes that begin that day. Your family might ask what's gotten into you. They'll notice that you don't laugh at the same jokes anymore, that you can't stomach the gossip sessions or the endless complaining about politicians and prices, that you've developed an allergy to superficial conversation. They might even accuse you of thinking you're better than them. And here's the painful truth: you're not better than them, but you are different. You've seen behind the veil, you've tasted reality, and there's no going back to the artificial sweeteners of spiritual pretense. The Apostle Paul understood this cost when he wrote in Philippians 3:8, "I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things." Everything. Not some things, all things. Your old securities will crumble. Your former identities will feel like costumes from a play you no longer want to perform in. The career that once defined you, the possessions that once impressed you, the opinions that once controlled you, they'll lose their grip on your soul. And yes, that process hurts. It's supposed to. Breaking always hurts. But chosen one, what's on the other side of that breaking is not brokenness, it's breakthrough. Not destruction, it's reconstruction according to heaven's blueprint. The question isn't whether you're good enough to walk through the gate. The question is whether you're brave enough to let the gate walk through you, to let its light expose what needs to be healed, what needs to be released, what needs to be reborn. This is why the 3rd of July isn't for everyone. Most people want transformation without trauma. They want resurrection without crucifixion. They want the testimony without the test. But you've been called to a higher standard, a deeper work, a more authentic existence. So I ask you one final time before we continue. Are you ready to pay the price of clarity? Are you willing to trade your comfortable confusion for costly truth? If you're ready to see yourself as God sees you, flawed but beloved, broken but chosen, imperfect but irreplaceable, then share this message with someone else who needs to remember who they really are. Because the gate is opening, and the only question that remains is whether you'll have the courage to walk through it. Chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your heart. Did fear whisper again last night? When you closed your eyes and saw that gate standing before you, did doubt creep in like fog rolling over Brooklyn? Did you find yourself asking, what if I'm not ready? What if I'm not worthy? What if I take that step and fall? I see you. I see you standing there with one hand reaching toward your destiny and the other clutching the familiar pain of your past. You've been living in the space between not yet and what if for so long that hesitation has become your closest companion. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Hesitation isn't humility. It's rebellion dressed up as wisdom. You say you're waiting on God, but what if God is waiting on you? Think about it. How many times have you felt the pull? How many times has the Holy Spirit nudged you forward, only to watch you take 3 steps back? You've been standing at the edge of breakthrough for months, maybe years, telling yourself you need more preparation, more confirmation, more time. But time is the one thing you're running out of. Remember Lot's wife? She had everything she needed to escape destruction. The angels themselves took her by the hand and led her toward safety. All she had to do was keep walking forward and not look back. But in that critical moment, hesitation crept in. She paused. She looked back. 1 second of hesitation turned her into a pillar of salt. Not because God was cruel, but because she couldn't let go. You see, the gate requires both feet, and some of you are still standing with one foot in Egypt and the other tiptoeing toward the promised land. You want the blessing, but you're not willing to release the familiar burden. You want the new life, but you keep glancing back at the old one. Let me tell you what hesitation really costs you. It's not just delay, it's decay. Every day you hesitate, your spiritual muscles weaken. Every moment you pause, your faith grows dimmer. Every time you say, maybe tomorrow, you're actually saying, maybe never. Moses stood before Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." But what if Moses had hesitated? What if he had said, "Lord, maybe I should think about this a little longer. Maybe I need more signs. Maybe someone else would be better suited for this task." The Israelites would have died in bondage, and Moses would have died with the regret of an unclaimed calling. David faced Goliath and didn't hesitate, while Saul's army trembled in their tents, asking, "What if the giant wins?" David asked a different question: what if God shows up? One question led to paralysis, the other led to promotion. Which question are you asking as you stare at the 3rd of July, 2025? Here's the brutal truth that's going to sting. Your hesitation isn't protecting you from failure, it's guaranteeing it. Because the biggest failure isn't trying and falling short, it's never trying at all. You think you're being wise by waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect circumstances. But perfection is the enemy's favorite trap. He knows if he can keep you waiting for perfection, you'll never move at all. Right now, there's someone watching this who has been called to ministry, but you keep saying, "I'm not qualified enough." There's someone who's been called to start that business, but you keep saying, "The timing isn't right." There's someone who's been called to restore that relationship, but you keep saying, "What if they reject me again?" Your hesitation is not faith, it's fear wearing a religious mask. Jesus didn't hesitate when he saw the cross. He prayed, "Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will but yours be done." He felt the fear, acknowledged it, but didn't let it stop him, because he understood something you need to understand. Hesitation in the face of divine calling is disobedience disguised as caution. The spirit of hesitation has 3 voices, and I want you to recognize them right now. The first voice says, "You're not good enough." The second voice says, "You don't have enough." The third voice says, "It's not time yet." All 3 voices are liars. You're not supposed to be good enough, that's why you need God's strength. You're not supposed to have enough, that's why you need God's provision. And it's never going to feel like the right time, that's why you need God's courage. Abraham didn't know where he was going when God called him to leave everything familiar. He just knew who was calling him. Noah didn't understand the weather forecast when God told him to build an ark. He just understood the voice of the Almighty. Your understanding is not a prerequisite for your obedience. Some of you have been hesitating so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to move in faith. You've become comfortable with the ache of unfulfilled calling. You've made peace with the pain of potential that never became reality. But comfort is not your friend. Comfort is the enemy of calling. The gate that opened for the 3rd of July, 2025, will not remain open indefinitely. Divine opportunities have expiration dates. When God opens a door, He expects you to walk through it with urgency, not cruise through it with casualness. You say you're waiting on God, but what if He's waiting on you? What if every prayer you've prayed for breakthrough is already answered, and the only thing standing between you and your miracle is your willingness to stop hesitating and start moving? The Israelites stood at the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army breathing down their necks. Moses stretched out his staff, but the sea didn't part until the first person stepped into the water. God was waiting for someone to stop hesitating and start walking. Today, right now, in this moment, God is asking you the same question. He asked Joshua, "How long will you hesitate to go in and possess the land I have given you?" How long, chosen one? How long will you stand at the edge of your destiny, paralyzed by what-ifs and haunted by if-onlys? Because while you've been hesitating, time has been moving, and time, once lost, can never be recovered. But here's the beautiful truth that can change everything in the next 60 seconds. Chosen one, we need to talk about the war that's been raging inside your chest for years. The battle you fight every single morning when you wake up and feel that pull, that divine tug on your spirit, but then you roll over and hit snooze on your destiny. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That moment when God whispers, "Move," and you whisper back, "Maybe tomorrow." That split second when heaven opens a door and you stand there calculating the cost instead of walking through. You've been living in the kingdom of almost. You almost obeyed when God told you to forgive that person who destroyed your trust. You almost moved when He called you to that new city, that new job, that new season. You almost said yes when His voice thundered through your prayers, but then fear wrapped its cold fingers around your throat and you chose safety over surrender. But here's the brutal truth that's going to shatter every excuse you've been hiding behind. Almost never opens the gate. Almost doesn't heal broken relationships. Almost doesn't fulfill divine purposes. Almost doesn't break generational curses. Almost keeps you exactly where you are stuck between what was and what could be, drowning in the shallow waters of your own hesitation. Right now, as I speak these words, there are two voices fighting a brutal war inside your soul. Listen carefully. Can you hear them? One voice, the voice of your spirit, the voice that carries the echo of eternity, is screaming, "Step through the gate, move, obey, trust Him." But there's another voice, louder, more familiar, more convincing. It's the voice of your comfort zone, and it's whispering seductive lies. Stay safe, don't risk it. What if you fail? What if people think you're crazy? What if God doesn't catch you when you fall? This is the war, dear chosen one. This is the battle that determines whether the 3rd of July, 2025 becomes your breakthrough or just another date you let slip through your fingers. Your comfort zone has become your spiritual prison, and you've been polishing the bars for so long, you've forgotten they're still cages. You've decorated your limitations. You've made peace with your fears. You've convinced yourself that staying small is the same as staying humble. But God is not impressed by your false humility. He's not moved by your excuses. He's not fooled by your spiritual-sounding reasons for staying exactly where you are. The Israelites had the same war. Standing at the edge of the promised land, spies came back with reports that made their hearts race. The land flows with milk and honey, they said, but there are giants there. 10 spies focused on the giants. Only 2, Joshua and Caleb, focused on God's promise. Numbers 13:30 records Caleb's response. "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." Which voice are you listening to? The voice that counts giants or the voice that trusts God? Here's what's really happening in this war. Your comfort zone isn't just a preference, it's an addiction. You're addicted to the familiar ache of unfulfilled potential. You're hooked on the safety of knowing exactly what tomorrow will bring, even if tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday, and yesterday was empty. You've been getting high off of someday for so long that today feels foreign, dangerous, impossible. But listen to me carefully. Your comfort zone is built on the bricks of your past fears, and God is trying to tear it down. Every time you choose comfort over calling, you're laying another brick. Every time you say not yet to heaven's invitation, you're building the walls higher. Every time you let fear make your decisions, you're strengthening the very prison that's keeping you from your purpose. God didn't deliver you from Egypt to leave you camping in the wilderness. He didn't save you from your past to watch you waste away in your present. He didn't give you dreams just to watch you bury them under blankets of excuses. The gate that opened on the 3rd of July, 2025 won't stay open forever. Gates have hinges, and hinges move. What swings open can swing shut. What heaven reveals to the ready, it conceals from the hesitant. Jesus spoke about this in Matthew 25, in the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 were ready when the bridegroom came, 5 were not. And when the unprepared ones finally showed up, the door was already closed. "Truly I tell you, I don't know you," was the response. The question burning in the throne room of heaven right now is this: when your gate swings shut, will you be on the inside or the outside? This war in your spirit, it's not going to resolve itself. Comfort never surrenders willingly. Fear never walks away quietly. Your flesh will fight your spirit until the day you die, but only one of them gets to make the final decision about the 3rd of July. Every prophet, every patriarch, every person God used mightily had to win this same war. Abraham had to leave everything familiar. Moses had to face Pharaoh with nothing but a stick. David had to run toward a giant while everyone else ran away. Mary had to say yes to a pregnancy that could have cost her everything. They all faced the same choice you're facing right now: trust God's voice or trust your fears. The difference between those who made history and those who became history is simple. They chose discomfort with God over comfort without Him. So, I'm asking you directly, are you tired of living in the kingdom of almost? Are you sick of fighting this war every single day? Are you ready to finally, once and for all, choose your spirit over your comfort? If you feel this war raging in your chest right now, if you're tired of being your own worst enemy, if you're ready to stop negotiating with fear and start walking in faith, then declare it publicly. Type "no more almosts" in the comments if you feel this war inside and you're ready to win it. Because the 3rd of July is coming, and your comfort zone won't save you when destiny demands a decision. Chosen one, we've walked through something sacred together today. Let me remind you of what heaven has spoken over your life in these precious moments we've shared. The 3rd of July, 2025 isn't just another date, it's your divine appointment. The hidden gate has opened, not because you earned it, but because God's timing is perfect and His love for you is relentless. Remember this: your past delays don't disqualify you from future breakthroughs. Your moments of doubt don't erase your divine calling. And your war between comfort and calling, that struggle itself is proof that something greater is stirring within you. You are not walking this path alone. Even when the world feels silent, even when family doesn't understand your spiritual hunger, even when you question if God still sees you, He is there, working behind the scenes, arranging divine appointments, preparing doors you haven't even prayed for yet. The God who carved your name in the palm of His hands before you took your first breath is the same God orchestrating every detail of the 3rd of July for your breakthrough. And here, in this sacred space we've created together, you have a community. Thousands of chosen ones just like you, carrying the same burden, feeling the same pull, fighting the same war between their spirit and their comfort. You are not alone in your calling. You are not crazy for believing God still speaks. You are not the only one who feels this urgency burning in your chest. Let me ask you this one final question, and I want you to really sit with it. If you absolutely knew that God was going to show up powerfully on the 3rd of July, how would you prepare your heart differently today? Before we part ways, I need to pray over you. Not just words, but a covering of faith and divine protection for what's ahead. Close your eyes if you can. Let these words settle deep into your spirit. Heavenly Father, I come before your throne right now, not just as someone speaking through a screen, but as a brother, a sister, standing in the gap for every precious soul who has heard this message. Lord, you know their names, you know their struggles, you know the silent tears they've cried when no one was watching, and the prayers they've whispered when their voice was too broken to speak aloud. Father, I ask you to breathe fresh hope into every weary heart that's listening. For those who have been waiting years for breakthrough, Lord, let the 3rd of July be their moment. For those who have been fighting the war between comfort and calling, give them supernatural courage to choose you over fear. For those who feel forgotten, overlooked, or left behind, remind them that your timing is perfect and your love never fails. God, I pray you would open doors that no man can shut. Heal hearts that have been broken by disappointment. Restore faith that has been shaken by delay. Let your presence be so real in their lives that doubt becomes impossible and fear loses its voice. Cover them with your protection as they step toward their destiny. Give them wisdom to recognize your voice above the noise. Grant them peace that surpasses understanding as they trust you with their future. And let the 3rd of July become a testimony of your faithfulness that they'll share for the rest of their lives. In the mighty name of Jesus, I declare breakthrough, divine alignment, and supernatural acceleration over every person hearing this prayer. Let it be so, Lord. Let it be so. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is one specific thing you're believing God for as the 3rd of July approaches? Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to keep believing. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their calling. Share it with that friend who's been struggling with their faith, that family member who's been waiting for breakthrough, that co-worker who needs a reminder that God still moves mountains. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey today. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to speak over your life. If this is your first time here, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button and join thousands of chosen ones who gather here regularly to be encouraged, challenged, and reminded of their divine purpose. Your story isn't over. Your breakthrough isn't delayed. And the 3rd of July, it's going to be a day you'll never forget. Until we meet again, walk in the authority you carry, rest in the love that surrounds you, and remember you were chosen for such a time as this. God bless you, chosen one. I'll see you in the next message.